You've reached Monster 911, and I'm Lance Hightower. I've been taking cryptid emergency calls for over 5 years. If you have a cryptid emergency, please call our toll-free number 866-306-8085. I can help you. What's your emergency? Welcome back, everyone, to Day 3. Today we're continuing with the show series Family Sees a Werewolf in Town. I'm Lance Hightower, your host, cryptid therapist, in-the-field investigator, and seeker of all things paranormal. And if you're tuning in for the first time, hit that subscribe button because this channel will be your guide to the unknown of monsters that you thought only existed in the movies. Yes, unfortunately, they're real, and thousands of good folks have been witness to these creatures all across America. So let's move right into today's show, guys. We're continuing with this particular family's separate and individual creature stories that have shaken and expanded their beliefs about how mysterious our woods and small towns really are. And stay tuned for tomorrow's show as we expand a bit further with this family as they continue to share various other bizarre and frightening creature experiences that can only be categorized as monsters. A dozen people or so, somewhere in that realm, that their encounter happened while they were driving and it was running next to them.
Yeah, oh, God. I wouldn't doubt that.
And I had, just briefly, I'll just to share one, I had a truck driver in Michigan who had his air brakes go down, and he was in this, he knew a back way to get to where he wanted to make his delivery, so he chose it because it was nice summer evening and he really enjoyed the wilderness, and so he went to this kind of this rest area and he was working on his brakes. He saw something black in the trees. He just thought it was a bear. He'd see it every once in a while kind of meandering and he'd say, "Oh, get out, bear." So he just thought, he finished up his air brakes, got everything packed up, his tools, and he got in the rig. And from this spot, this rest area, you have to travel uphill. It's quite an incline. So obviously, being a semi-truck and they have a lot of gears, it's a low gear ratio when you start out. So they're just going, very slow. Plus it's uphill. So he's just barely gaining momentum. And he's got the windows down. He decided to enjoy the summer air. It was in Michigan. And so he's got the windows down on his side and the passenger side. And so he's shifting gears. He's about 20 miles an hour. And he glances to his right. And what he sees to the right in the window of the passenger side, running alongside him, is this giant wolf head. It's got its tongue kind of hanging out, and it's looking forward, and then it's turning to look at him, then looking forward, turning to look at him, and he is completely in shock. What the heck am I looking at? And this can't be real. This can't be real. And he said, "Lance, the tongue on this thing was the size of a cow. It was massive." He said the head almost filled up the entire window, the where the window came down in the door frame.
I believe it.
He said, "My instinct was to shoot it. It's not, this thing is horrifying." He said, "We're not supposed to carry a firearm, but I do, Lance, because there's a lot of places there's just some odd places that truck drivers go, and you just got to have some means of protection." He said, this thing was looking forward, and I instinctively pulled my Colt 45, and I shot, and by the time it realizes it was turning its head to me, its eyes got big as saucers. It knew what that gun was. I guarantee you it knew, Lance. He said, but I had already hit it, and it fell. And I looked on my side passenger mirror as I was still going uphill, and when this thing hit the ground, Lance, it looked like a full-grown quarter horse rolling in the ditch. This thing had to be about at least 1,000 pounds. When it hit...
Yeah, that's what I would say that one that we saw was. That big.
Which one?
The one on the highway?
Oh, the one on the highway. He said this thing was huge. He goes, here's the thing that startled me too. On top of that, I go up at the top he said, and I just think, I got to make sure this is dead. I got to make sure this is dead. This thing can hurt somebody. So he goes at the top, spins a U, he comes back down the hill. As he's coming down the hill, he sees a Jeep pulled over about where he saw this thing go down. So he pulls off on the other side of the road, puts his flashers on, and he yells at these people. He said, "What's going on?" They said, "Did you see that bear?" He said, he didn't want to tell the couple what he'd done or what he saw. And they said, he just kind of stuttered. And they go, "You mean the bear that was on the side of the road that went down?" He said, and they go, "No, the bear that came out of the woods and grabbed another bear and drug it in the woods. There was two of them."
Whoa.
He said it was dragging another one off in the woods, and they were getting out of their vehicle and going to track it. And he says, I wouldn't do that. Don't do that, please. And just get in your car and just don't do that. If it's wounded or something, you don't want to go in there. So they got back in their car, and that's what he saw. So I give you that example of that interview just because there is a number of people that have had their encounter where this creature, they were driving, it running alongside of them or ran in front of them, and they saw how some of its characteristics that makes it totally abnormal of anything we're aware of.
So they can be killed.
Yes, that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. You know, in the movies, you can only kill a werewolf with, silver bullets and whatever else, I forget now. That's not real. The way we have seen is you have to, it can be, in other words, if it eats and it sleeps and all those things, being a living creature, then it can be killed. The one thing that I would consider is you have to shoot at soft targets. In other words, what's a soft target? A soft target is, I don't mean to be graphic here, but, we're all, you guys have been in the woods. You understand. So I'm talking mouth area, eye area, throat area, growing area, under the armpit area, neck area. Those are soft targets.
Okay.
Right.
So law enforcement, they teach you to hit the mass of a person, the chest area, right?
Yes.
Military, they teach you center mass and head. I'm going to say that don't do that. Do opposite. Go in soft target areas because we don't understand the anatomy. Excuse me. We don't understand the anatomy enough to know how thick these areas are. You've heard of maybe some of your family hunts hogs or friends, and they have shot a hog in the shoulder where they have that thick armor, and they don't go down. So I have interviewed people that have had shot these creatures point blank with double-aught buck in the chest. It doesn't go down.
Wow.
And in the back, it doesn't go down. In the head, just in general, it doesn't go down. So I will say that it is my opinion soft target areas would be the choice where vitals are at. So that's my opinion there.
Wow. Mom, was that your question, Mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I would say y'all talk about the 4th of July incident that spurred us finding him, or me finding him. Go ahead, Mom.
My pig was after the 4th of July incident, or before that.
No, the pig was about next. the pig. Talk about the pigs.
All right.
So-
Talk about the pig.
And it was Christmas time.
Super quick. It was
Past
Christmas.
Christmas.
Christmas Day. We got back from doing Christmas activities, and
What year?
it's dark, and our dog, 2019, last Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And we lived here at the farm. We lived at the farm where we live at now, and I have pigs and pig that, yes.
Okay.
The pig that was injured was probably 100 pounds. And so we get home, and our dogs are going, and I had all of my big pigs. I have potbellies and feeder pigs that are range from 100 to 500 pounds. And one of them came running to me, and I didn't know how she got out of her pen. And so I went through the barn out to the back of the barn area where their pen is, and I see one of my black pigs on the ground, and I could see that her shoulder is just ripped to shreds. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And I pick her up and take her inside the barn so I can look at her, and her neck and head have probably 2-inch holes, like bite mark holes in her head and neck. And her left shoulder was just shredded, and then her right shoulder was shredded so far down to the nerves and bone. And I mean, my dogs were freaking out. And my dogs, that the ones I have been around pigs and chickens, and they don't, a dog doesn't have the type of teeth to make a 2-3 inch puncture wound.
Yes, right.
And so I ended up putting the pig down the next day because she just wasn't getting better. But that whole night, my husband and I walked around the pig yard to make sure it was secure, and there's no way that the pig could have got out of the fence, because the fence panels we use are 8-foot high panels. So, I mean, a pig can't jump that high to get over a panel, and both of the pigs were out. And then I had 2 more pigs that are probably 300 pounds that were still in the pen. So, I was texting my mom after it happened, and I said, I think it may have been aliens, because I don't know how this pig got out of her pen. But obviously, something could have thrown her out. Now that I
mean, the only thing we could think about, I mean, I was asking her, was it a big cat? Was it, nothing could have gotten that large pig out of that 8-foot.
That's
fence.
right. And you always want to go to the logical sometimes. It's easy to, if you're a hammer, you're looking for nails, right? If you're a plumber,
right,
you're looking for a water problem. So I'm very careful to immediately try to debunk the logical. And so if you look around the pen, just like you did, and you don't see a hole under, and you don't see a gate open, and everything looks...
there's no gate to their pen.
Okay.
If I get in with them, I have to climb the fence.
Okay.
Just because they're so strong that they just knock the gate off.
So this is one of those circumstances where you have a pig that was severely injured with an injury you've never really seen before, with puncture wounds that you don't know what animal would do that. Now, you could say, okay, mountain lion. But here's the thing. This is where you need to know the characteristics of the wildlife that exists in your region. Here in Oklahoma, I can tell you that could a mountain lion jump inside the cage, crawl on it? Yes, it can. But mountain lions will attack in the cage. They will not, they can drag prey, but I can tell you on a fence, at a gate like that, 8 foot, they're not going to do that. They can't.
Right.
There's a certain weight limit that they are capable of, and it's very challenging even for a male puma or mountain lion to do over 100 pounds. They're going to eat right on the site. So now, if you rule that out...
And it wasn't being eaten. It was just shredded.
That's the next thing. You say, okay, if it's shredded, what shreds something and doesn't really eat it? So, and now you have a pig outside the fence. So then when you start ruling all that out and you come up with an illogical, like, how this happened, that's when you need to start thinking about these creatures. When everything else doesn't add up, something doesn't look right, smell right, or feel right, then I always say it's not right. Then you go to the next level of thinking. These creatures can jump in quite easily. Again, I go back maybe to the example of jumping on the highway from the ditch to the center, from the center across the whole median. Their jumping abilities are incredible for the size that they are. And then you think a 100-pound hog or a 200-pound hog, that's nothing. That would be like a bowling ball to you and me. So that's where, and hogs tend to be picked on quite often on farmsteads with these creatures, because you have a contained food source that's not getting away. And
Great.
well, I'm
feeding it.
yeah, well, but here's the thing that you can do that is non-lethal, but I'd still carry a gun, of course,
Yes.
I would, obviously. I try to instruct my family, anytime we're outside, you always carry a firearm. Because we live in a very rural, we're not actually in Tulsa, we're outside in Terrellton, Oklahoma. And we live very remote on a farmstead, woods all around us. So I would say one of the things that I've noticed with these creatures is they tend to evade or stay away from game cameras. And I believe that the reason why, indirectly, is that they tend to have an aversion to what they can see. The naked eye, the human naked eye, cannot see infrared. It's below the spectrum of light that we can see. These creatures, I believe, can see it. They may not know what it is, but they can see the light and they stay away from the light. So a lot of people will say, well, just get the darn thing on game camera. It doesn't work that way. I wish it was that easy. Many, many people have tried. The one thing that we can say is that when you put a game camera up in the direction, they tend to stay away from those cameras. Now, when you put a game camera up, you have to think, don't put it at a 4-foot level. You have to think almost like this is a human when it's not. You need to put it up high and point it in the direction of your livestock, your chickens or whatever you have, your pigs. And you need to get it up high. And they tend to have an aversion away from that. They don't want to get near it. That's just what I've seen. So that is a non-lethal way to keep them at bay, away. Home, cabin,
I like that.
livestock. And I know it sounds simplistic, but that's just what I've seen and what we have heard many, many times over.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, I think you need to do that like tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have one inborn. It's going out of the barn tomorrow, so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm not saying that they may not be bold. Like I said earlier that they know what guns are. I don't believe they call it a gun, but I believe that they have encountered enough or been shot at. They understand that when this metal fire stick goes boom, their family member, their clan member, whatever you call it, is not alive again. So there is an association that they have associated that with. So in my opinion, they know what guns are, they know what knives are, they know what cars are. And they know these game cameras, they may not know it's a camera, but it comes on with a motion light. And so, but again, you don't want to put it at the 4-foot level. This is not, deer are not self-aware. They just are, right? But even deer can see infrared. It just doesn't bother them as much because it's not spooking them. So they just keep on feeding and whatever else they're doing. Where these creatures, they see the infrared, they stay away from it. So that's just what our experience has come to be. The best way, if you were going to capture some video, and we have some special cameras made like this, you almost need a camera that does not emit infrared, but is light gathering. It uses either a heat signature, motion activated, or it gathers light instead of emitting light. That would be the best way to capture any video or picture. And we do have...
I don't want a picture of it.
Well, one of our goals is we've been focusing on this creature for the last 2 years. Our goal is to capture footage, HD footage of this.
Right.
Because there is very little footage, if any at all. And you've got to have a lot of luck. You almost have to think like them, and you have to kind of fool them. And it's very, very hard. You can fool these animals, I believe, seriously, not too many ways, but you can fool it with sound. If you're a really good professional caller, you can do it with sound. You could do it with smell, by having the right smells of food that it's used to in the wild, either hog or venison or chickens. If you just take a side of beef and stick it out there, it's going to, I have a feeling it's going to know, okay, what's beef out here, a steak doing out here? You know, something like, they smell a trap. So I would say sticking with animals they're used to encountering on a farm or in the wild would be, you can fool them that way, and you can fool them a little bit with sight. Outside of that, you probably can't fool it too many different ways. That's what makes them dangerous. Not only the size, but their thinking ability, like I said.
You know, it's like, it's almost like, I don't want to call them like an animal. The word creature, like you said at first, that fits it more. These are like creatures.
Yes. Yes.
You know, okay.
If it was an animal, then you can just call the game warden. They'd come and trap it. They whatever. But what's really interesting is that I've done, again, a lot of interviews. There was one I did a couple weeks ago of a gentleman that has a business in Kansas, on the border of Arkansas and Kansas, and he was out at the parking lot in a very, very small town, blink of an eye kind of town, and he heard a crash, and he saw a car off in the ditch on the other side of the highway across from his parking lot. And on the opposing lane, there was a sheriff, and the sheriff came up on the scene, and this gentleman, this business owner, is still a ways away, and then the sheriff gets out, walks to the car, looks in the ditch, and he said, "Don't come any further, sir. We've got it." So the business owner thought, well, all right. So he just stands there in the parking lot, and then the sheriff gets back in his car, gets on the radio. About 10 minutes later, a highway patrol comes. So the highway patrol gets there, gets out, looks in the ditch, looks at the people in the car. Then about 10 minutes later, 2 helicopters come. A huge military Chinook helicopter, double blade, and a small helicopter, unmarked, black, lands right there. And within 5 minutes, military Hummers block off the highway a mile in every direction. Nobody's going through. There's only one eyewitness to everything that's happening, and that's this business owner. So he's walking closer to the scene, and a military gentleman approaches him and said, "You need to get back in your business right now, sir." And the business owner says, "The heck I do." And he, has some expletives. He said, "I pay my taxes. I own the parking lot you're standing on, so I can stand anywhere I want." And the military gentleman said, "Fine. You're standing right there and not moving a muscle." So the military gentleman just kind of rests his hand on his pistol. He didn't threaten him. He didn't pull it. He just stands right in front of him and stares at him. And this business owner is kind of looking around him to see what's going on. So here's where it gets strange. Not only is that strange, everything that's happening, but he sees that they blindfold the 2 people in the car that had the accident. They blindfold them, then they take them out of the car and put them in the ambulance. The ambulance takes off. Then this Chinook helicopter has a huge cargo net that's lowered. They put something in the cargo net, and they wrap the whole cargo net in this huge tarp, so you can't see what's in the cargo net. So the Chinook helicopter takes off. So the other helicopter escorts it. There's no coroner office. There's no coroner vehicle there, and there's not another ambulance. So what did they hit? Everybody's so secretive. And that military gentleman that was standing in front of him, telling him to get back in his business, he said, "Do you have any surveillance cameras outside here?" He said, "No, I do not." He said, "Okay." He said, "What's going on?" And the guy said, "Nothing you need to know, sir." It was all said, and within 30 minutes, the highway was cleared. No one knows what happened. And the gentleman said, "Lance, I'm calling because I don't know what happened. I said, well, when something doesn't look right, then it's not right. I said, if that was a gentleman or someone walking or a bike, I said, I used to be an EMT and so did Wiley Dave. And unfortunately, you can have a motorcycle person have body parts on the highway and you're not going to blindfold the people in the car to get them out. I've never seen that. I've never seen it.
We were all medics too.
There you okay.
Myself and Mom and.
Have you ever seen that then?
No, we've never seen that.
No. Neither.
No.
I've never heard of it.
No.
So something else was going on, and I believe personally that these people hit a creature, whether it was a Bigfoot or this Dogman, hit one crossing the road, which is not out of the question. It sounds like from these things can jump in front of people, and either killed it, knocked it down, injured it severely where it couldn't get back up, and they didn't want anyone seeing what they saw. And so the military was there quickly, and everything was hushed, but they had traffic blocked off, and they blindfolded the people in the car, and just when things don't look right, then it's not right. So I guess that was my point there.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Makes you wonder.
It does.
Okay. You want to talk about July 4th?
Yeah, I will. Because July 4th.
This year.
This year.
Okay.
A few weeks ago.
We were at the farm with the pigs.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to the pigs.
Oh.
Yeah, we were at the farm and we stayed in the cabin. Now this cabin has a fence around it. Now to get to the front door, you have to take a couple of slats. It's a wood fence. So how they've done it, they've taken a couple of slats and you lay them kind of down, and then you step over them, and you go in the cabin.
But how far
this
from the cabin is? So there's a house, and then outside her house is the barn, and then the cabin is maybe a quarter of a mile away.
A quarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We have 17 acres, so
Okay.
it's probably, I don't know, maybe an acre or two from the barn.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
which
that's
is probably
to kind of set up the scenes of it, and it's it's a little further out from the house. It's a couple acres away, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mom. Sorry.
Okay. So to get to the front door, you had to step over the slat. And then they've got horses out there that this keeps the horses off of the porch, and it has a nice little yard there and flowers. And you put the slats back up into its holder.
So nobody can get in the nice yard.
Yeah, so the horses and
Gotcha.
whatever else is out there.
I
Well,
have a dairy cow and then her baby, who is almost a year.
Okay.
And then how many horses? You have
I have two ponies that are they're the mini ponies, like the Shetland ponies, and then I have a donkey,
and
then
a horse.
or he's a mini donkey. He's as big as the Shetland ponies, and then two horses. But the two, I want to add to this. We had tranquilized all the horses except we didn't tranquilize Donkey or the two cows because of the 4th. They were super scared of the fireworks. But we tranquilized the two ponies and then the two full-size horses.
To calm them down.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they were tranquilized. They were drugged. They were just literally standing out in the field all night and all day, probably drooling at the mouth because they were.
And they were really happy.
Yeah, they felt pretty good, probably.
They had no care in the world.
Gotcha.
So anyway, there's the yard, and to get in the fence, you have to kind of, like Mom said, pull up the board and step in, and it's completely fenced off, no gate, you step over the fence to get into the yard that has the cabin. So it's fenced off totally.
Okay.
Nobody can get in. Okay.
Even the ponies. The ponies.
Yeah,
can't get
even
in
the
there.
little ponies can't get in.
Yeah. So here it is at nighttime. It's me and her husband. We're in the cabin. Decides he's going to sleep in the kitchen part of it on a
blow-up mattress. Yeah.
And she's sleeping on a twin bed, and they gave me
it was a day bed. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I have my phone. I laid my phone right beside me, and it's off. It's not completely, but it's
on the
off
bed.
On the bed where the light don't come on. So it's
just charging.
off,
Yeah.
and it's just laying there. Well, then time goes by. We all went to bed, and it was probably between 2 and maybe 3:30 in the morning. And my phone light came on suddenly, and that woke me up. I'm a light sleeper. The phone light came on because the whole cabin was shaking.
Oh, wow.
It was literally shaking. And that might have been what woke me up too, was because of the shaking, you know.
Well, and it's not like a cabin built into the ground. It's more like they took a big shed and made a small cabin out of it.
Okay.
So it's not like on the ground on, a concrete slab. It's up off the ground and like a big huge shed, but they made it into a cabin.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So,
and then
and the whole thing was shaking.
Wow.
And what I heard was something walking on the porch, the wood porch.
Oh.
Now on
that
the
nobody
porch,
can get in.
Right.
Now on the wood porch, they have these the plastic lawn chairs. Well, they've got them screwed into the porch so that the wind don't blow them away. Okay. And then they have a couple of other chairs that they were kind of aluminum, but they didn't have them bolted down or anything. They were just sitting there. This, whatever it was, came up on the porch and kind of milled around. Nothing was disturbed. I heard nothing but footsteps. And it sounded, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought it was hoof, like the horses up on the porch. And I thought, no, I don't know. But the shaking and my phone coming on, and then it's like it walked straight across the porch and it went around to the kitchen part, and it woke my husband up, and he was laying in the kitchen floor because his mattress went down, and he heard it too.
Really?
Now she's laying in her little twin bed snoring.
So don't make fun of me. Shut up.
So didn't it hit the side? Didn't something hit the side of the house?
Yeah. Yeah. It sure did.
Yeah.
And
Tell me about that.
It's it's like it was
Slapping.
It hit down where was at. I heard a lot
In the kitchen, yeah.
In the kitchen part. So it milled around, and what really scared me is they got this front door, and if you don't pull it shut just right, it'll come open from the outside. And I was laying there thinking, and this whole thing scared the water out of me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was worried about the front door, because you could just, during the day, we'd gone in and out, and you had to pull hard, and I didn't know if I had locked it or locked the door, and this thing seemed like it was right at the front door. And then it's like it walked off, whatever it was, and went down by the kitchen part and was making all kinds of, I don't know, noise.
Like boom.
Yeah.
It was what now?
Booming. Like
it was
like it was hitting the outside of the house, or the shed. The cabin. We call it the cabin. And then it sounded like it was underneath. And I thought, what could that be?
Oh,
and
really? There's some space underneath.
Yes.
There is space underneath, yes.
Is it up on concrete blocks?
Yeah, it's up on cinder blocks, like,
yes.
I don't know, just one. It's just one cinder block, though.
Yeah.
It's like, that's as tall it is. It's not high. Like a dog, like my dog can fit under it. We have some Great Pyrenees that they guard the goats and stuff, and they can fit underneath it, but they can't. They don't ever go under there.